I don't want to sort of take you for granted. I don't know how much time we've got, but you know, I'll talk for hours if you give me the opportunity. Just give me a time when it's good to go. But can we backtrack to stage one, because I know you had 10 stitches in your arm, left arm, from memory, and
right arm as well.
Okay.
Cheeky sharp bite.
What was it, a chain ring or something?
Yeah, just a chain ring. I didn't actually get any road rash. It was just a chain ring hit me from behind, I think, because on my arm I got like a cassette scratch all on my arm too. So yeah, it's that's just how it is. It wasn't the nicest couple of days. Those first two, I guess that's the notorious Tour de France.
Are you rear brake with the right hand, like, just to get into the specifics of it? And
I'm Euro.
You ride Euro.
Left. Yeah.
Right for rear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And were you able to use your hand correctly?
Yeah, that was fine. It was just moving my arm. So the cuts were painful. They hurt, but that was okay. It was more, I got hit from behind on my shoulder, and I thought I'd broken my shoulder, as I've said in interviews before. But it was really just a big muscle contusion. I obviously got hit, and then the muscle just went like that. So it decided not to really work for me for the next couple of days. So it wasn't the easiest to get out the saddle and to throw the bike and to sprint. I mean, on the first day, the day of the crash, I couldn't stand up at all, and I couldn't move my arm past there. So it wasn't ideal. But once I knew it wasn't broken, it was just a matter of making it to Paris and not wanting to DNF on day one or your first Tour de France.
Were you in the Omi crash, or the one closer to the finish?
No, that was the first one. That was the one I was in. The second crash, I was on the left at the back. So I was more or less okay. No, I didn't go down. All my teammates went down, every single one of them, except me. But yeah, we went down. We were the worst, not the worst, but one of the worst hit teams, because we all went down in the first crash, and everyone except me went down in the second crash, because they were all on the right. I think my teammate was the second or third guy down on the grass on the bank. Yeah, probably one of the worst crashes I've ever seen, to be honest. Especially when you see it on video and when you see it in person. When we were doing 75Ks now, it's pretty scary. So
when you landed, were you just like this, or and that's probably when you copped the chain ring?
I have no idea. I thought I almost stopped, but it was a small road, and they were so close together. You were really, really tight. So there was there's kind of nowhere to go. You kind of find the middle between the guys, and then all of a sudden you just have to go over. So, and everyone else is behind you, and it just banks up, and voila, that was the first crash.
Okay. Who did you room with? And that night, were you sort of going through, geez, I don't think I'm going to make it through this race, or like, what kind of discussions were being had?
I room with Ollie Narson, but he's pretty calm about this kind of stuff. Belgian. He knows it's kind of like this, but it's I think it was the size of the crashes, the amount of people that were caught up in both of them, that made it a bit mad. Bigger than a normal crash where it takes out like 20 guys or 15 guys. This took out like the whole bunch, pretty much. But the couple guys at the front. So yeah, I mean, you talk about it, but you also don't want to talk about it too much, because you've got to go do it the next day as well.
Can you give us some talk about power numbers? Because there's, I think your files out there, people have analysed that from the day that you won, for example, which would have been exceptional numbers. Can you talk me through what were highlights for you from that day's file? Have you gone sort of and perused it in detail yet?
Yeah, I mean, my coach obviously did a fair bit of analysis and stuff on it. I think it was I guess, a perfect management of kind of what I'm capable of on long climbs. Yeah, the start was pretty high, but everyone had to go full on this little climb at the start. And then
And
all
what
the other
kind
big
of
climbs after that, it was about being, I guess, in control. I didn't follow Mike or Nairo when they launched. I just kept riding hard. But yeah, when you're seeing numbers that you think are going to be too high when there's still 15 minutes left of a climb, then you should probably be careful. And you were in a breakaway as well. It's not like it was the end of the race. There was still a lot of climbs to go.
So you are balancing your effort based on the numbers before you, or are you balancing your effort based on how your chest feel or your body?
How you feel. I mean, if you know for sure that you're going hard in a race, then you know you're going to be over your limit in general. That's just kind of fact. At the start for the breakaway, it doesn't really matter so much if it's a steep climb, because there's only so much you can do. But for these long climbs, when you're doing 40 minutes or 35 minutes at 400 or 390 watts, there's segments where for sure you're going to be doing 4 or 5 minutes at 430 or 450, but you need to also rail that in, because after you do that effort, you have to go back and still do the rest of the climb. There's still 15 minutes to go. So I think it's about being careful about which moves you follow or don't. For breakaway days like that. And then for the final climb, it was really just a matter of, I actually thought Higuita was bluffing at the bottom because he was starting to pull soft. I was like, maybe he's just bluffing me. I'm just going to get flicked. So I actually just kind of rode a bit of a stronger tempo each pull until eventually I heard he was dropped. And I looked behind and I saw he was dropped. And then voila, I kind of went, and I knew more or less how long the climb was going to be. When you see the 15K or 17Ks to go, it's still a long way to go. It's between 40 minutes to 50 minutes left of effort. So you just try and sit on what you think you can probably do until the finish, more or less. And really, actually, it's more like 13Ks because the last 2Ks were flat. Mm-hmm. So it's another thing you try and take emotion of, and then just keep on the speed, because it was a fast climb at the bottom. So it's about just keeping the momentum as much as possible. Yeah.
It's different now because even, a lot of people who didn't have any idea about cycling come to it quickly. They get on the home trainer and they understand power output. 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. But it means that a lot of people who were watching are aware of the kind of output that you'd be putting out, and they're thinking about how they could possibly conjure those numbers. And for example, I did 2 hours on the home trainer this morning because we're in lockdown, and there'd be a section on the ride where I was like, okay, I'm going to go a bit harder. I'll try and hold my wattage up. And then I'd play different games with my pedals. This is me as a hack, right? But I'm just curious, when you're trying to elicit a greater power, are you trying to, for example, hold your foot firm when you're doing your downstroke? Is there some little thing that you tell yourself over and over again from the years of riding? If you do it this way, you're going to get more efficiency out of your pedal stroke.
No, it's habitual. It's not. There's no real thought about it. Maybe you can think more about your breathing, and I guess making sure your stroke is the whole way. So not your feet at all. It's more about the muscles that you're using. So your hamstrings, in particular, and your glutes, to make sure they're always, I guess, activated. But it's habitual. We ride so much as not. You know what the feeling is. You don't need to think about what's the best way to put out power, because you should already know. There was only a moment where you have to feel what your muscles are like as well. I couldn't really get out the saddle too much for too long because I was pretty cooked and I was scared I was going to cramp, because it's just a lot of muscle damage. It was a huge day. So maybe that was the only thing you can think about, but the rest of it, no.
Okay. I hope you understand the question. It's sort of a bit like trying to...
No. I completely understand. It's just, it comes naturally. There's no, you don't need to think too much about it. You should just think about how far there is to go and keeping yourself calm when you're in that solo point, because it's still a long way to go and you're in the Tour de France. So you need to make sure you stay calm and not panic and not go too hard.
And on the Ventoux, when you were sort of, when the cameras were focusing on you and you're losing a little bit of time, were you like, how do I put it, wishing like never before that the camera would go away from you, or how?
Well, I was just kind of wishing I wasn't on GC so I could pull the parachute. It was pretty filthy. It was pretty horrible. Ventoux. That moment was not fun, and yeah, so be it. I think I just suffered in the heat and the change of the weather, and wasn't the best day. It's a long climb, and I was just cooked actually. But I managed to get over, and only kept going because of, I guess, where you are on GC, I had this good gap, and you had that gap for a reason. Maybe people didn't believe that you could probably hold it, but I knew that I had the gap if I had a bad day, and that was my bad day. And I think if I didn't have such a bad day on Ventoux, it would have been interesting to see how the rest of the race could have played out in the Pyrenees. But that's how it is. It played out as it did, and I was able to still kind of more or less hold on.
Is what it is.
I was actually quite proud of that ride, even though it looks like it was a shit ride. I was quite proud that I was able to dig so deep and hold on. Even though I lost a lot of time, it was one of the worst experiences going up there for me. So yeah, it's one of my actual, even though I don't like it, one of my highlights of I guess what we work for, getting past the hard times.
Yeah. I think you're justifiably proud. I think it was an exceptional day, and I don't think that there's anyone thinking that you had a shit day.
I definitely feel that, but everyone else was quite pleased and happy, so that made me feel better about it.
Okay. Ben, mate, I could really talk a long time, but I think I've got to be a bit respectful of your time.
Thank you.
Going into a lot of detail on a lot of things, and I don't think that many outlets get the privilege of talking to someone who came fourth in the Tour de France for this long, so I'm really grateful. Thanks.
No worries, mate, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, cool. Well, enjoy whatever comes next, and I hope that you sort of get to enjoy a little bit of Andorra for a while, and your fiance company, and a bit of summer.
Yeah, exactly. All right, mate.
Thanks very much again, and we'll talk soon.
See you later.
Cheers, mate.